The Midlands Today Show with Will Faulkner.
Midlands 103.
A spectacular meteor shower with hundreds of shooting stars across the sky greeted us as we gazed upwards into the big vista overnight. As many as 60 meteors an hour were visible to the naked eye. That was, of course, if you were above the clouds, which, of course, most people weren't. Once upon a time, Seanie Morris from the Midlands Astronomy Club, people didn't go as rapidly to check out meteors. It wasn't the big attraction that it is now. Why was that?
Way back when you're going back to medieval times, and even as recently as the 1500s, meteors and comets are associated as being omens of doom and gloom. Do you remember when you learned about the Battle of Hastings in 1066? There's the Bayeux Tapestry associated with it. That year, in 1055, Halley's Comet was seen in the skies, and it's actually in the Bayeux Tapestry. And it was predicted by King Harold's seers to not go to battle against William the Conqueror because he would lose the battle. But he didn't believe it. He went to battle and he lost.
Wow.
So they thought then that the prediction was correct, even back then, that the comet was a herald of doom and gloom for King Harold.
Yeah, so the myth gained substance then. But it seems to have come a full circle in that people are told now, especially kids, if you see a shooting star, make a wish. It's good luck rather than bad luck.
That's right. It's been made into a fairy tale. I remember people used to say in their generation, people older than me, that their generation were told that when you saw a shooting star, it was a loved one saying hi. Or even go back even a couple of more generations again, it was just a sign of a soul going to heaven. So it's always had this mystical aspect to it over the last 200 years or so. But now that we understand what it is, the pure science of it all, that, there's nothing bad about it. Unless it's big enough that it'll come through and might hit you in the head. But
they're few and far between. And if it lands near you, well, first of all, make sure you're wearing a bicycle helmet when you go out looking at a meteor shower. Head injuries are commonplace these days. We'll get to that later. But if you go out and you're looking skywards, apart from the clouds, let's imagine the clouds were not there.
Okay.
What should you have seen and what could you still see? Because this is going to continue for a while.
Well, just to give you the very basic background of what's happening is throughout every year, throughout millennia, comets come into the solar system on a periodic basis. Anything from the shortest, which is 3.3 years, to the longest, which has been found to be about 160,000 years. But eventually, at some stage, these comets will pass through Earth's orbitable plane. And at different periods throughout our year, Earth will pass through these various dust clouds. And at greatest concentration, that's when we see a significant peak in meteor activity or shooting star activity. So for the Perseids, they're passing through the tail that was left down by Comet Swift-Tuttle, last seen coming by here in 1992. And on the night of August 12th, we passed through the greatest concentration. What we see is these streaks of light in the sky ranging from 60 to 100 an hour that radiate from a point in the sky around the constellation of Perseus, hence the name the Perseids.
Mm-hmm.
So big, bright flashes of light. The Perseids are known for being quick, fast, white in colour, and give an awful lot of fireballs. These would be, bigger chunks of material left behind by the comet as it had passed through. And the
fireball effect, is that the friction of the comet meeting, or the meteor meeting the atmosphere?
That's right. As Earth is spinning, it's travelling around the sun at around about 66,000 miles an hour. But the dust cloud itself is also moving. So combined, when Earth is going headlong into this dust cloud, the particles are hitting the upper atmosphere. They're colliding at a combined speed of anything from 88 to 145,000 miles an hour. That equates to around about 33 miles per second. That's very, very fast. So as this particle is travelling through the atmosphere, it is meeting resistance from the different layers of air, getting thicker as it comes down into the atmosphere. Therefore, just like you would take your finger, rub it on the carpet really fast, it burns. That's friction. So this is what happens to the particle of dust as it's encountering the air molecules in the atmosphere. It begins to heat up, it burns, it ablates itself, basically, tears itself apart. Now, this is anything from sand to the size of marbles. And then what's left behind is a visual show lasting less than a second. In rare cases, but is common, you can see a train that will be left for a few seconds afterwards. And even rarer again is when you get the fireball that will even show signs of splitting and peeling itself as it travels through the atmosphere and leaving a trail that would be visible from anything from 5 to 15 seconds, or a record for me is 18 seconds.
Wow. Would they be the larger objects, though?
Yeah, they would be ones where you've got anything from maybe a golf ball to a tennis ball that would still burn up through the atmosphere. It would still be small enough that it won't make it through. But it leaves this very powerful show that's occurring between 40 and 80 miles high in the sky. But, even though it's a very small particle, the energy is producing that massive burst of light.
What would be the critical mass for an object to get through the atmosphere and impact?
It depends on the mass, and that would depend on the material that makes it up. If you've got something that's made with a high amount of metal, it could be around the size of a tennis ball, but will come down much smaller. A football will probably guarantee hitting the ground, no problem. If it's made from silicate and rock, it's more likely to break up as it's burning up and become fragmented. And the bigger fragments may survive, the smaller fragments would still continue to burn and then be obliterated. So you got to think, it has to be a considerable size, which is rare. But, as we have seen before, like in Russia last February, it does happen.
It does. Here in the Midlands, last night the weather was not kind. Mother Nature was in a grumpy mood and it was cloudy. But we will have more opportunities to see this spectacle, albeit perhaps not in the concentration of last night. But for how long will it last?
Around about 10 days. 10 days either side of maximum for the Perseids. You would see that increase of material burning through the atmosphere compared to normal background rates. The same will happen for the next 10 days or so. So even though tonight is not the maximum, Earth is still passing through older trains left behind over the millennia that themselves have become a little bit thinned out because of the solar wind, and Earth has vacuumed it up before. But there still will be that great concentration for 10 days either side of August 12th, so there will still be something to see for a few days yet.
The Perseids are terribly popular because it happens in August when it's warm. You don't have to get layers and layers and wrap up and go outside in the middle of the night and gaze upwards. What other showers similar to this would happen at different stages during the year?
Well, the Perseids are the most popular, but they're not the best. If we head towards winter, we've got the Draconids, which come on the 6th of October. Very short burst, very, very good. You've also got
the remnants of a comet passing through.
That's it. You've got the Orionids on October 21st, which is the remnants of Halley's Comet passing through. November 17th, you've got the Leonids, which the last few years have been a little bit unreliable, but still will give a good peak in the small hours of the night of 17th and the 18th. And then again on December 22nd, I think it is, December 21st, the Geminids, associated with an asteroid rather than a comet, will also give us a really good show. However, the moon will be out that night, whereas we had no moon for the last couple of nights to make this one the best one to see.
All right, well, fingers crossed the clouds disappear tonight and we have a clear view upwards. Seanie Morris from the Midlands Astronomy Club. Before we wrap up, any details, contact information, means of getting a little more insight from you?
Yep, you can get in touch with the club itself. Check out our website at midlandsastronomy.com, and you can also take part on a national forums based on irishistronomy.org. That's the Irish Federation of Astronomical Societies, where many people would share their observations and get in touch. And in the end, if you just want to even give me a call, my number is on the website and the email address of midlandsastronomy@gmail.com.
Or you can tune into Last Orders Monday to Wednesday here on Midlands 103 between 10 and midnight, because usually astronomy works its way into the programme in some way, shape or form.
Last night, a lot of people actually were taking part. Not intentionally, it was just I gave it a mention and people were texting in saying, it's cloudy here, saw one there. So it was nice to get that interaction live on